Hi everyone, my name's Lawrence Buat of Sensory Sumo, and I'm here with Elmer Mendoza. And today he's going to talk about the process of how it is to have a child with autism and the services that you need in order to help your child with their sensory needs. So, Elmer, tell us a little more about yourself and about about your journey.
Hi, Lawrence. Before anything else, I would like to say hi to everyone who's watching, and hope that this information will be useful for you guys. And I want to also make a waiver. Everything that will be shared today is just based on my personal experience. Of course, raising my son with autism, we are not saying that our way is the right way or the best way for everyone, but I think in my heart that we found a way that works for us. And my name is Elmer Mendoza. I'm 38 years old. We live here in California. I'm a parent of three kids, a 15-year-old, 9-year-old, and a two. I am married for 16 years now with Almi, my wife. And my son, Yuan, is my 9-year-old with autism.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's been such an amazing journey. For those of you that don't know, I've been working with Elmer's family for going on 3 years now. I'm their friend, but I've also worked with his son, Yuan, and it's
Yeah.
been such an inspirational family to witness because Elmer and Ami are just so supportive of their son's needs. And they really do the research in order for them to be successful. They know all the services before, uh, before his son even needs it. So that's been such an amazing journey to see, Elmer, and you're such an inspiration to a lot of us. I'm an occupational therapist, and I help a lot of kids from different neurodiverse backgrounds. And seeing you and your wife really reach out to service providers to make sure that your son gets the help that he needs is really
Mhm.
something that definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So that's why I wanted to interview you for this podcast and this YouTube channel, because I think your information is so valuable to a lot of parents that don't even know where to start. So let's get right to the meat here. When you first notice signs that your child has autism, it's really hard for you to kind of accept it first, right? It takes some time, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
takes a lot of kind of at first, I think there's like that denial phase, and then you accept it, and then you ask for help. But when did you first start to notice that your son had some developmental delays or some concerns? When did you and your wife first started having major concerns about your son's development?
That's a good question. I think this is so important, especially for families that are have no background at all of what is autism. Because in our case, me and my wife, we have no family member or relatives that we know that has autism, and we grew up in the Philippines and migrate in the United States. Autism is something that is not discussed in the community. Autism is like not even a known word
Mhm.
in the Philippines. So we actually don't know what autism is. This is something new to us. So when we started to notice something is different from my son, we don't know that it's autism.
Mhm.
What we know is like he has speech delays, he has some developmental delays that we notice during those first stages of development, and that's when we started to think what's going on. We noticed that there's a delay from 15 months to 2 years old. We see you on not making eye contact,
Right.
not saying words mama and papa. There's like behaviors, unusual behaviors that you don't see to a normal kid. So that's like ring a bell to me and my
How
wife.
old was he when he wasn't making any of these milestones?
I would say from 15 months to 2 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What was your first reaction? I think that's important for a lot of parents because it's really
Oh,
important to get it right immediately.
because at first we're not that worried at all, because
Right.
we have a brother. I have a brother-in-law that has like a speech delays before, and he was able to speak at the age of 4, I think.
Right.
But we didn't really take it seriously before until we see like huge unusual behaviors. and
Right.
that's when we really start to.
And what behaviors were those that was unusual? Because I know sometimes speech delay, yeah, some people develop
It,
later and that they'll be fine. But what were
yeah.
concerning behaviors that
So
really caught your attention?
for my in my for my son Yuan, like common unusual behaviors that he doesn't play with other kids.
Hmm.
He has his own world. He has no eye contact.
Right.
At the age of 2 or more, he's not speaking words.
Hmm.
There are times that he can't recognize dirty stuff like poof, those kind of things. He has no sense of danger. So those are like unusual behaviors that we noticed. So what we did is we asked the doctor right away, to
Right.
figure it out and help us out.
Your primary care doctor.
Yeah. I think the first step that we did is like we get the attention of the primary doctor. We don't hesitate to raise all our concerns about our child.
Hmm.
We observe closely the developmental stages of Yuan,
Hmm.
that we
Hmm.
could really know what's missing or what's in there or
Right.
not.
Did you use like a book or a guide or an app to help you with the developmental milestones? Because I know there's
Or,
different apps or suggestions out there, but what did you use?
or during my time, so since this is new, I'm not into apps before. So I'm a research guy or search on the internet. And of
Hmm.
course, always talking to his primary doctor, his pediatric
That's
doctor.
good.
And of course, we're fortunate that he gives a lot of information for us. I think the first step that you have to do is really talk to the pediatric doctor and
Yep.
ask information and resources. But right now, I just learned lately that there are like apps from CDC. I can provide you the link wherein you can
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
track. Yeah.
I even had a video. I'll post a link
Oh,
below
wonderful.
about
There
this
you go.
milestone
So
app. And
check the videos of the videos about that, and for early parents that has same situation, that would really help you out, guys. Check
right.
our other videos.
Yeah, no, because the CDC milestone tracker app is really good because you could record it and you could easily show it to your primary care doctor. And then once you're referred to a specialist, then you can see the data that you've recorded. So
Yeah.
it'd be easier for them to pinpoint how they can help your child. So you
Yeah.
talk to your,
On my case, I do the traditional one, the manual method. Take pictures, take videos, write notes, and
exactly.
then tell it to the doctor.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to document and to take note of it and really know your child because you know your child the best.
Yeah.
So after so you went to your primary care doctor. About how old was he when you went to your doctor about these concerns? Because sometimes your doctor doesn't. You have to be the advocate for your child, right? Because if you
That's
do,
right. Yeah, there of course it has, different doctors has different takes.
right,
But
absolutely,
it's up to the parent to really, push it through so that you could be referred to the right department and to the right, people in order for you to get what your son needs. In our case, we don't hesitate to raise all our concern, and our doctor referred us to a regional center. So
right.
for early intervention program. So when he was 2 years old and 3 months, I believe, we were referred to regional center. So to see if Yuan has like really developmental delays. And during that time, he was found out that he has really developmental delays, not autism yet, just developmental
Right.
delays.
So,
And
for the listeners and viewers that don't know what the regional center is, it's a California thing. I know. I have a video about the regional center too.
that's great.
And there's one here where we live in Northern California, but every single area has their own regional center. But what services do they provide so that our viewers would understand what the regional center is and what an important resource it is?
So regional centers, on my own experience, they provide services for people who has disabilities. In my case, on my experience, the first services that we avail from regional center, and it's actually free, by the
Mhm.
way, which
Wow.
is good, is what they called early intervention. So if your child from 0 months to 3 years old, I think,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, has developmental delays, which is like if there's stages of development that they can't hit the mark,
Hmm.
um, they will gonna try to assess your child, and if they found those are delays are evident, then they're gonna qualify your child to do the early intervention. What is early intervention? It is like a therapy that they send up to your home so that your kid, or to their daycare, and
Right.
they do the therapy so that your kid could catch up,
It's
so
a
that
really
they
good
can close
service.
the gap. Yeah, so
Good
that's
service.
why
I'm
it's
going to
early.
post a link in the bottom of this video for the regional center, at least in California, because I think it's a resource. It's really important, and it's really important to have these interventions when they're young, because your brain is so like you could really do a lot of good when you do these interventions younger.
Mhm.
So they do intervention services such as speech language pathology. I'm guessing that was provided for you on, right?
Yeah, we have speech, OT, and we call family visitor. So the person who just comes to our home so that he can interact and play with you on
Wow.
during those times.
And it
Yeah.
was free or subsidized at least. Have
It's in our case, it's free. It's free and funded by the regional center.
And what was the application process like? Because all the parents were like, "Ah, it's free. It's too good to be true." But what was the process like? What were the steps that allowed it to be free for your family?
Okay. I think in my case, what happened is like the doctor referred us to North Bay Regional. So North Bay Regional um contacted us, or I can remember you
You
can
need your
also contact.
doctor, right, to refer you
Yeah,
to the regional center, and from there, the regional center
will
take you.
contact you, or you
Okay.
can contact them in advance and then tell your situation, and from there they're gonna assign a case manager or an intake manager, so that from there they're gonna start the process for you.
So you can't skip the steps. You have to go to your doctor. The doctor refers your child
That's the normal way. I mean, that's what works for us. I think it's still that would be the best way, so that the regional center have like more medical information about your kid. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the application process like? Is there like an online, well, when you did it, was there like an online link that you went to and then
Yeah,
filled it out?
good thing right now it's all online. You could just go directly there on the website, and they're gonna send you, or they can send you the link, and then you will provide information about your son, the parent information, and basic information about your kid. What are the the concerns, and you're gonna fill out the form also with your doctor's information, so that
Mhm.
they can verify your kid's information, and from there they will contact you. Then they're gonna start to, I think on our case, someone came over. I don't know if he's still doing that because of COVID,
Mhm.
but once they found out that he's qualified, then this is what they call, they're gonna order a service request, wherein they're gonna provide those services for your son. If he needs speech, if he has speech delays, they're gonna provide speech therapy. If,
Mhm.
if he has like some what you call gross motor or problems, they will provide OT
Right.
or PT.
Right.
And also they also provide home visitor, which is the one who, we're gonna just go to your house, play with your son or your daughter,
Mhm.
and just to make it sure to promote social interaction,
Right.
those kind of stuff.
And do they also provide caregiving services and respite? Because I know sometimes when your kid has all these concerns, like it could be really tiring for parents, and having respite help is really helpful. They provide that? Did they?
No, during the early intervention, there's no respite services, because basically
Right.
what they're trying to meet is just to intervene the delay, so that they could
Catch up.
close the gap and catch up.
Right.
And the respite services came to us, or becomes available when Yuan was diagnosed with autism.
And how old was he? Like, so you said like he like at around 18 months, 15, 18 months, you talked to your doctor, you got referred to the regional center. The regional
Mhm.
center did their assessments, and they concluded that Yuan had developmental delays, but he wasn't formally diagnosed with autism.
Mhm.
Oh, how old was he like when he got diagnosed officially with autism?
Okay, so I think on our experience, once the child turned to 3 years old, so they will not be qualified for an early intervention anymore.
Hmm.
So So we were transitioned into another program, which is for autism. But before that, they schedule for a CAD clinic. So CAD clinic is like a test. They're gonna test your son or evaluation to make it sure and to check if he really have diagnosis of autism. So that happens when he was 4 years old and 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
When Yuan was transitioning from early start to school district, I
Right.
think.
So when your child starts at a school district, that's when
We
the
were referred to do the CAD clinic.
CAD clinic. So the CAD clinic isn't available until he starts preschool.
Um, the thing with CAD clinic or the test or evaluation, it's always full. So it's hard to find
Mm-hmm.
or get a schedule.
Hmm.
In our case, we waited for, I think, more than a year or less.
Wow.
So and then we I think we didn't, my wife is in denial during those times. He
Right.
doesn't want to do the clinic.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm the only one who's like, let's do this, he need this, I don't care, we have to do this. So well, to make the story short, he was evaluated and diagnosed when he was 4 years old and 4 months.
And this was after
So
a year of
yes.
much waiting. So you really need
Yep.
to do it right away.
Yep. It should be right away. If
Not
you're gonna
procrastinate.
ask me, lesson learned, don't wait. The moment that your kid turned to 3 years old, call your case manager and ask them what's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And if they said you need to do CAD clinic, sign up already. Try to be in the waiting list so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to wait that long. Because if your son has no autism or diagnosis, it's a win-win for you. That's
Right.
based on my experience. But if your son or your kid has it, it's also a win-win for you. Why? Because when he got officially diagnosed, that's when all the services will gonna be offered to you, and you can really help your kid.
Yes.
Without
Talk more
diagnosis,
about that. How can you really help your kid when all these services are available?
yep, that's true. So that's why it's so important for you to do that evaluation.
Right.
Don't wait, because the waiting time, you're already gonna wait. So better get that so that you could get the evaluation right away.
And
I
these
know for some
evaluations
parents,
are
they're
free.
so. Go ahead.
Are they free? The evaluations once your kid is
Yes,
diagnosed with
if
autism?
the evaluation is free, it's provided by North Bay Regional, so you don't have to pay anything. But of course, we want to be sensitive on this on this topic, on this, because not parents are always ready for that. They need to be emotionally ready. Like in our case, in our own experience,
Right.
my wife is not that emotionally ready to do the CAD clinic on during those times.
Mm-hmm.
But as a parent, I think on like the lesson learned, for me now that my son is 9 years old, my advice is don't wait, don't procrastinate, and don't wait for a snap out event. Because my wife, just during that time, she's waiting that, oh, maybe he's gonna snap out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just wait a little bit. But no, do the CAD clinic as soon as possible. Because once you have that official diagnosis, the services you need will be available for your son right away. The moment that you have that diagnosis, you can help your son
Right. It's not
to
a
have
bad
those
thing. And
services.
I think a lot of parents are very sensitive to that because they don't want their kids to be labeled with autism for the rest of their
Mhm.
life. And I think the stereotype with autism, I think as we've progressed and we do more research and it's becoming more studied and more kind of like a term that's not seen as a negative term anymore. I think it's good for us to understand how we can help your kid. It's not a label, but it's a way for us to
Yeah.
understand how we can support your child. And the truth, at first, like what I learned, the truth at first is painful, but then it will help. And
Yeah.
then,
And don't we understand, don't get us wrong. The stigma is real,
yeah.
but in my experience, I ignore the stigma,
Mm,
but I look after the welfare of my child. I don't care about the stigma anymore. I want to help my child.
right.
So that my transition was so easy. Oh, it's 10 p.m. garbage day. All right, let me. So, my transition was easy, but with my wife, I have to support her,
Yeah,
and to really, be advocate for my son on those times. Parents should be the first advocate. That's let's
absolutely.
just say that, and ignore the stigma. It will
Yeah.
not help your son. You know, um, yeah.
And that's why this channel is here, this podcast is here, so we could break that stigma and more people would understand what autism is and
Correct.
how they can help with that. But yeah, you're right that the emotions are real and it's difficult at first to process that. And tell us more about that. Like, how did you and your wife come to terms with the diagnosis, and how did that help your son in the process?
Um, well, I just try to be the best the not the best, but at least to be a father to my kid.
Hmm.
I focus on on my son's welfare,
Hmm.
and and trying to be the first advocate for him. So during the time, I just want to do it. I don't care if he's going to be labeled with autism diagnosis. What I care is, my son needs help, and
Hmm.
we need to do this. And me and my wife decided to just do it, because at the end of the day, if he snaps out in the long run, we win. If
Hmm.
not, we still have those services in place.
Yeah.
That's my what I'm thinking back then, and that's what happened. It's real. My son's services are still in place up to now.
Right.
And what you do on those first stages of discovering autism is so important in the later stage. And I will explain you next time when we have another video. But you know, you
Well,
gotta.
tell us a brief reason as to why it's helpful, what you do at the early stage, why it's going to be helpful in the long run. Like, what are some things that are helping you now that you're so grateful for that you did all those years ago?
Oh yeah. I think during our time, what I'm grateful for is me and my wife are good enough in researching,
Hmm. Hmm.
asking people, finding resources,
Right.
um, and that really helped us a lot in order to give support for my son.
Hmm.
I think the second one is we love collecting data. So
Yeah.
we collect data from day one.
Yeah.
From
My
day one,
journalist friends would be so happy because the data, it's so important.
yep, we collect my first my son's evaluation from day one up to now. He's 9 years old.
Yeah.
Is compiled into one binder,
Wow.
and that helps me and my wife and the providers, the advocates, and the school to help my son. Um, and I think that's one of the things that we are thankful for. Like, we
Mhm.
have all the data that we need. And
Yeah.
secondly, we have people that are really genuine to help you on,
Yeah.
besides us, that really wants to be the first advocate. So sometimes I call you, Lawrence, you know about OT stuff. What should I do? What's the best strategy?
Yeah.
I'm blessed that I have some people around that really helps me. And I think that's the goal of this video,
Yeah.
to get more information out there for people like us, like especially in our case, like for first time parents with zero experience, first
Mhm.
time, experiencing autism in their life. I think
Mhm.
these information are so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A community. It's important to have community
Yeah.
support groups, and that's what this channel and this community is all about here at Sensory Sumo. To have resources for people to connect, and they could show experience, valuable experience, and information that parents don't know about, and sometimes they miss out on those opportunities. And that's why we want to make these resources readily available for them.
Yeah, and the information is all there out there, but it's scattered. You have to go to this, to that link, to that page, to that, But during our time back then, there's no like one place that
Mhm.
could tell us what's the steps, what are the information that we need on that time, on that stage. So so that if you're a person that watched this video, If you have a family member that needs this information, please share this. If you have a friend, or not a family member, but just a friend or someone that you know that need this information, please share this, because we tried to put it in a one video, all these things, so
Yeah.
that you know.
Right, and we also are making a blog for it and a website where everything would be in one website, so they could just
Mhm.
find it, and it would be really helpful for parents and families. Elmer, you mentioned about respite services that it became available when he was officially diagnosed with autism. Tell us more about how parents can avail those respite services, because I know it's really important to just get rest and get rejuvenated, because it's really important even for any kind of parent. So how did you how does those respite services work for the regional center?
Okay, so the respite services becomes available after Yuan was diagnosed with autism. But I just want to go back a little bit regarding the early start, because during early start
Hmm.
with Yuan, we're receiving speech, OT, and family visitors, I think. Then
Hmm.
after 3 years old, that's when we start to have speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA respite
Hmm.
or ABA services, and respite services.
Right.
So respite is a good program because they provided the respite is like you have somebody to come over to your house
Hmm.
so that they could watch and take care of you, and like a nanny,
Hmm.
for some few hours in a week,
Right.
so that the parents could take a break and breathe, do some personal care,
Yeah.
or if they want to visit a
I know
friend to
it's so
vent.
important for parents listening out there. It's really important to take personal care and take advantage of any respite service that you could avail.
Mhm. Yeah. So if your son has been diagnosed with autism and he's a client of Regional Center,
Mm.
Respite Services is available for you guys,
Mm.
especially for kids with autism.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what's the process like? Like, so you mentioned OT and PT and speech was already kind of part of the early intervention. And once you turn 3, the respite service and the diagnosis is official, respite service become available. Is there like a form that you need to fill out, or do you need to contact your case manager so those services would be available?
Okay. So remember, once your child becomes a client of North Bay Regional or Regional Center,
Hmm.
there is an assigned case manager that handles your kid's case.
Right.
So this case manager is your point of contact. So you can call them, email them, and talk to them about your
Mm-hmm.
concerns, developments, or whatever regarding Yuan's case or my son's case. You can call them.
Mm.
And during our time, those services are, or those information is not like opened up in a one time big time for you.
Right.
So lucky you, if you're watching this video, you will know those services. But the way they do it, in my personal experience, like it's a case by case, need by need
Mm.
basis.
Right.
So if you tell them,
It's
oh,
really
this is
up to the
what's
case manager.
happening, that's where they're gonna say provided. If you say this is happening, I'm so stressed, I have no time for myself, and that's when they're gonna tell you, oh, there's services that we could provide. So,
You really
but
have to advocate for yourself. Like, I'm at
yes.
the end of my rope. I really
Mm,
need
yeah.
this. Like, my mental health is
Uh-huh.
deteriorating. I'm not sure if I can take care of my kid anymore. And then
Mhm.
they'll offer that, right?
That's right. And I don't know if that's kind of like the process, the way they handle the case, but that's based on my experience.
Right.
But to sum it up, there's a speech therapy, there's occupational therapy, there's an ABA services that provides by the regional center.
Hmm.
There is what you call respite, so that you could take a break.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one which is we just discovered, a personal assistant.
Wow.
So
What is that personal assistant? That's
oh, that is something new. Maybe we could,
I have a separate video on that.
have a video on that. But personal assistant is like for more severe cases,
Hmm.
like severe kinds of behaviors,
Hmm.
so that they need somebody next to them, like a one-on-one assistant, to make it sure that they're safe, that they're being watched. So So those are the services that I know that they could offer. Actually, there's other two, which
Mhm.
is the daycare. If your daughter or your son has a daycare program, there are there are programs there too.
Right.
The thing is, they will not tell you
Yeah.
all of this in one, when you the first day. So we discovered it by just research, go to Google,
Yeah.
talk to the case manager,
Right.
uh,
Watching this video, like
watching
pretty
this
much like
video like this
a
one.
secret, like, hey, they don't know I know this, but
Uh-huh.
the services are
Uh-huh.
available.
Pretend that you don't know, but if you think that your situation qualifies for it, why
Mhm.
not?
Might as well
Ask.
try, right?
Yes, because the worst thing that you could have
I said no.
is a no.
And that's where it's really important to gather the data, right, from the start.
And
Because then
that's
you
why
can
I
show.
said it's so important from day zero, from day one,
Yeah.
you collected all your data.
Right.
You organize your data because that will support you along the way.
Well, keep track of our videos for those of you watching, because we're going to send out like a free data tracker on our website for a limited time. And you could download it and you could record it and tell
That's
us
so
how
cool.
yeah, right. Free
Mhm.
resource for parents, because we want to make sure that the services are available out there. Because again, all of these information, like what Elmer was saying, it's available, but it's scattered. So that's what we're doing. The scattered information, we're trying to keep it in one location here at Tensor Sumo. Um,
Mhm.
so that's really good. All these information is really good and helpful for families. Um, did you join any organizations or support groups, Elmer? I know you mentioned that your emotional kind of
Mhm.
transition with accepting Yuan's diagnosis was difficult. So did you join any organizations or any groups to help that? So because it's important to have people who've already kind of walked that path ahead of you.
Yeah, I think we subscribe the Autism Speaks organization because they have a lot of tons of information out there
Hmm.
that they provide. At first, I was so overwhelmed. Not all of the information that they give is all that you need. Sometimes you have to really filter what you need. um we online research is our thing. We go to California Disability Developmental, the CDSS, and
Hmm.
then we go to, if you are a client of a regional center, go to their website. They have more information there,
Hmm.
programs, um, um, things that they provide. You could go to we research. What else? I joined a Facebook group.
Hmm.
um I forgot the name. I don't want to flag their name. So, but you could search on Facebook, families with autism or autism family. Just try
Hmm.
to search and then find the right group for you
Hmm.
that you could relate in and can contribute at the same time. So that really helps us a lot.
Yeah.
Um, there's like advocate groups too, that available on Facebook. You could check them out too.
Absolutely. And hopefully in the future, we're going to make our own server, our group, our Discord server for free for families, parents, specialists, and therapists to be a part of that conversation. So you just
That would be
put a
great.
question, and then professionals are going to go and comment and help you, send you links. I think that would be good. So keep track.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, all there in one server. You just put it out there wherever you are, and then we'll send you some links for clinics that are good in the area, or clinicians in the area that would be able to help you. So I
Mhm.
think if you keep track of our website and our channel, and that server goes online, be sure to subscribe and join.
Yeah.
Um, Elmer, how was school like for you? So we're moving through the early stages of his life. So how was school like? What was school like for you? I know like certain schools provide different services, and you as a parent need to be cognizant of what's happening in the school, because sometimes the school doesn't really meet the needs of your kid. So it's really important for you to kind of keep track of it and really
Well,
hover over.
for you one, well, I would say there's always something new to learn and discover.
Yeah.
about the school system and how you want, do his education.
Uh-huh.
Because Yuan's ability to learn and his ways of learning is so unique. I mean,
Yes.
I think people will agree with me that every kid in the spectrum or with autism are, they have their own unique different needs,
Hmm.
different ways of learning. So
Hmm.
it's always something new to learn, to discover every time. For us, it's a little bit challenging because Yuan is in the, what you call this, low functioning
Hmm.
group. So he has sensory needs and different kinds of needs and support that
Yeah.
needs to be met so that he could really access education.
Right.
I think what I would like to say is please pay attention closely to your child's needs when they're in school,
Mm.
because um, on our case we really want to be intentional when we talk about school or education,
Yeah.
because your kid is already disabled. I mean, has already challenges,
Hmm.
and as a parent you have to really advocate for your son to make it sure that at least we can able to access the education that he needs with those, of course, with the presence of those challenges. That's why I said pay closely to your child's needs, or else you're going to be trapped in a cycle of, just going with the flow.
Right.
And the next year, okay, the next year again. So I think we should have another video about that.
Right.
Maybe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really important for you to be aware of that. And then you could always ask for an IEP if you're unhappy with the services that the school is providing. And Elmer, you've just went through that whole ordeal for a few years, right? The IEP.
Yeah. Yes, IEP for, I think, once your child was diagnosed with autism and attending a special education, most of the time you have this IEP called individual's educational plan,
Hmm.
and that is like a plan that details your son's needs in order for him to to get the education that he needs. So the
Yeah.
support and the goals and the whole shebang. Because sometimes the standard of, because in our case, the standard method of general education doesn't work for you on well, the general education, because he has autism in the low functioning group. So he's I, I believe he's smart on his own unique ways, but
Right.
the general education method doesn't really work for him.
Right.
That's
In a
when
school
IEP
setting.
comes in, like the individual's education plan.
Hmm.
Not every kid in the autism spectrum learns the same way.
Yeah.
So they have to tweak, the things, the classroom. If they have sensory needs, they have to attend the sensory needs before they could really
Hmm.
attend to education. So
Hmm.
the IEP is really important.
Absolutely. From my experience, one of the things that teachers tell me in a general setting or in a more um, in a school setting, in a general education setting, is like, hey, the student just keeps stimming. Can you give them techniques so they would stop stimming? And at first, I was like, yeah, we could do some sensory deep pressure. But then, as I practiced as an occupational therapist in school, I realized that this is their way of regulating themselves, of moving their body. So having a classroom that allows them to be able to stim and move is actually a better setting than telling them to suppress what they need in order to help themselves feel regulated. And like what you said, everyone's unique in a different way. Like you want to smart in a different way. He just needs a different setting or a different environment for him to be successful. Of course, one of the reasons why schools really want them to go back or stay in a school with like with their peers is because of the best way for them to learn interactions is through peers, typical peers. But it's really difficult for them to learn if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel regulated. So I think that's where you go in an IEP and you tell them that he needs more specialized care, one-on-one support in a more controlled environment so that he would feel safe. I think as parents, as teachers, as clinicians, before you could even access those goals, right? The IB goals, the first thing that you need to accomplish is to make sure that your child feels safe and that their needs are met. And once
Mhm.
you've done that, then you can move up on the goals.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if
I
you don't,
100% agree with what you said. That's why I said earlier, you have to watch, you have to pay attention and watch closely
right?
your child's needs,
Yeah,
because those needs, if they not met, would affect the way he learns. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Like those sensory issues or sensory
right.
needs that needs to be addressed in order for him to learn, that needs to be addressed first. So if
Mhm.
we don't pay attention and we don't watch closely our kid, especially when they go to school, there you don't even go there.
Right. You don't know.
Like, so it's feel free to go and visit your kid in a day. Tell the teacher, I just want to see my kid, how he does with at school.
Yeah, you could do
Or
observation
you
reports
could make
for
an
him.
appointment. I think that's one thing that parents should know, that you could visit your kid
Hmm.
and
Right.
check it out, so that you could see
Yeah,
what's happening.
absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Just even like for 10, 15 minutes, see
Hmm.
what it's like and talk to the teachers, talk to the teaching aides, talk to the clinicians, talk to everyone, and make sure that you get a consistent information from everyone. So
Hmm.
that's really good. I really like that. Like you need to take hold of your child's education, so
Hmm.
that they could take hold of their own education. I think it's important for you to empower yourself, so you can empower your child in their goals. So, uh, Elmer, I feel like we could talk all night if you're given the chance, but to keep this somewhat short, can you give parents that are listening or watching, or like your advice for them if they're debating whether or not to go to see their doctor so they could get their child assessed? What's some, or if their child just got diagnosed with autism or any developmental delay, what is something that you want to tell them to help encourage them?
Oh yeah. I think the the faster you the faster you could accept the situation
Hmm.
of your son,
Hmm.
his diagnosis,
Hmm.
the faster you could really help him.
Hmm.
As I said, ignore the stigma. We
Hmm.
don't care about that. What you care is the welfare of your kid, and you should be the first advocate of your kid. If you can't advocate for your kid, how much more the other people that can advocate for your son if the parents is not advocating?
Hmm.
Everything will gonna stems out through a very serious parent who's really advocating their son.
Hmm.
Services will come in, um, proper placement will come in, um, resources will gonna come in,
Hmm.
once a parent is really an advocate, trying to be an advocate for his son. And
Absolutely.
one more thing before we end this, we call it, video.
Hmm.
um, I think very important to know is about the insurance. So we
Hmm.
talk about speech, OT, who's gonna pay for that?
Right.
I mean that is something that we have to really know. So
Yeah.
there's three things that I want you to know. If you are working, you have a private insurance. So that's one thing you should have, right? Second is the California, or what we call medical,
Right.
which if your son is a client of regional center and diagnosed with autism, you could start to check what they call institutional deeming waiving program. So
Hmm.
that if, for example, because medical is like based on income, but
Hmm.
if your income is more than what they require, you can't get medical. But through this waiver program, they will not count the parent's income,
That's really
so that
good.
your son would qualify to receive a full coverage of medical.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's in very important thing. So if your private insurance just cover this much, then medical will going to be your secondary insurance.
Right.
Medical insurance could also pay co-pays. So if you bring your son in a hospital and you use your private insurance, then the copay will be shouldered by your medical if he has medical, right? So anything, and then the third one is the regional center, which is what we call the free services from the regional center.
Right.
So anything that the private insurance doesn't pay, anything that the medical insurance doesn't pay, you can go to regional center because they will try to make it sure that those services will be provided for your son.
Right.
So give an example. If your regional center covers ABA, for example. So if your private insurance doesn't cover ABA, so medical will gonna cover ABA. If medical has no provider around the area that that accepts medical, right? So, and you can't get that services, you can go to regional center and they're gonna provide ABA services for you and they'll fund it. So that's so important because not all parents knows that. I think that's a good information to have.
Right, absolutely. And then we'll post a link on the obtaining Medi-Cal coverage for your child through institutional deeming, because I think that's really important to know. And there's more information regarding that. And also, a child under the age of 2, I'm just reading it right now, may also qualify if he or she has been diagnosed with a developmental disability rather than only delay. So if your child is diagnosed with a developmental disability, then you could also qualify for this. This is really good information because you're backed up in 3 different ways. So one before, the second, and third.
Yeah, going back to what you mentioned, the reason why I said 3 years old, because from 2 years old to 3 years old, even though your kid got diagnosed with autism, it's the same services you will receive from North Bay Regional. So people, sometimes they just wait for 3 years old for their kids to turn 3 years old. That's when they started to do the calculating. But yeah, you could get an evaluation earlier than 3 years old.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I think, Elmer, that's really good information. We'll probably have you back on and talk more about the IEP process, maybe even talk about like savings account or investment accounts for your child to make sure that your child would be financially supported throughout their lifespan. I think these are important topics that we can talk about in our channel and then also in our website so that parents would know what to do.
Hey, Lawrence, I want to mention one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if everybody knows this perks. I called it BIP perk.
Okay.
If your son has long-term disability like autism, you could apply for a disabled parking.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you could get those blue. Is it blue, right?
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely qualify for that. The blue placards. Yes.
And it's so easy, so that if in case, you need to be, like it works for me for appointments, like for therapy appointments. I don't have to, park somewhere far where I can easily access in front of the building.
Yeah.
And it's so convenient, especially if you have kids with special needs. Yes. What you can do is get on the go to the link. I think I can provide you the link for the DMB.
Okay.
There's a form that you will fill out. Bring it to your doctor will fill it out. Bring it to your doctor. Let him sign. Then you sign, and then bring it to a DMB office.
Okay.
And from there, it's a free services. No, you don't have to pay anything. Every second year of the month of June, they're gonna send you the blue parking pass, or what do you call this?
The placard.
The placard.
Rear view mirror. Yeah.
And you could get the BIP. I call it Yuan's BIP parking pass.
Yeah, BIP. Yeah, no, it's really important because it's really important to park close to an appointment, because if you park far,
that's true.
It could cause a meltdown and you'd miss the appointment. So it's really important. If your child has sensory needs or sensory sensitivities, you park far, there's a construction or crossing the street, it prevents them from accessing the services or even going to school. So it's really important.
Yeah. Like my son has a tendency to elope, and he'll gonna just
Right.
run away. So, it's so important. And he's receiving how many therapies in a day, like in a week. So like there are a day that I have 2 or 3 therapies in a day,
Hmm.
and that really helps me a lot. So if
Yeah,
try to check that out.
absolutely. Elmer, you've been such a help today. Are there any other things that you want to mention to your
Okay.
listeners? I was like, wait a second, we're missing all of these. I have this in my notes, and I just like fast forwarded it because you
Uh-huh.
had so much information.
I know. I mean, it's a lot of information, but I think this information that we discussed today or tonight is really important, especially for parents who just started this kind of journey. I
Mhm.
think we called it the Info 101.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do join our server, the Sensory Sumo Discord server or a community, Elmer's going to be a consistent uh, person there. He'll be like probably helping manage some of the conversations, us, including me, and then hopefully we'll have a speech therapist there as well, and then also a behavior analyst going back and
Oh
forth.
yeah,
It's just really
that would
important
be
to have
great.
like a good community where we go back and forth to help your child's needs. So
And if
Elmer,
you guys have any questions, like you could type a question somewhere on the YouTube channel,
yeah.
and then we can go back. I think Lawrence can go back on those questions, and we will gonna try our best to answer it based on our experience.
Absolutely. Elmer, thank you so much.
You're
This is
welcome.
important and good podcast and video. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
Yep.